Now let's talk about link building strategies. Let me give you some examples. All right. Number one tactic. I'm doing it right now, Gavin, as we speak. It's called the podcast appearance strategy. Did you even know I'm building links right now? I'm building a link from your website and you don't even know it. So one of the first things our team does, and especially for entrepreneurs that are getting started, you normally have an interesting story, like Gavin yourself. And, hey, you started a SaaS company, you grew it, widely successful, you sold it. That's a very valuable lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs to listen to. Heck, I want to listen to that story. That's what I was talking to you at the beginning. I was like, hey, man, what are you doing here? You should be on a yacht right now. Why are you doing these episodes? We're doing a new podcast from ground zero. So I want to hear that story. So let me tell you how you're going to get it. I go on 3 or 4 podcasts. Well, actually, this week's been 4. Normally, it's about 2 to 3 a week, every week. And now, how do I do it? And I'm on a podcast tour right now. It's very simple. First of all, I don't do it. I've delegated. One of my team members, our marketing team, Dylan, who reached out to you, actually, you got an email from him. What he does, he fires up Respona. And if you're not using Respona, you can do this yourself. You can go on iTunes, and Responder basically finds these podcast episodes that have interviewed someone in our space. So that automatically tells you something. So if a podcast have interviewed someone in your space, one, it means that they accept guests, because not all podcasts do. So unscalable podcasts accepts guests. Check. 2, they're relevant to your space, right? I'm not going to go on a cooking show because I can barely scramble eggs, right? So for me to speak to an audience that and keep relevancy, I need to understand what their audience is looking for. And having a guest that's in our space on our show is a clear indication. And last but not least, it also makes our life easier when it comes to pitching, because then I can just say, hey, Gavin, came across an interview with John and love the fact you guys talked about XYZ. And I can tailor the rest of the pitch to and use that episode as a hook to imply to the host that, hey, I'm not just, blasting this email to every podcast I see. I actually have done my research, right? And I'm reaching out to you because I think there will be a valuable episode that we can create together. So then Respond will help you find the contacts. If you're not using Respond, you can just go and do some Googling and find it. It's not that difficult to find Gavin's email. And you go ahead and write up a pitch, and Respond, again, helps you write that pitch and create follow-up emails and stuff, and still do that using your good old Gmail, right? And start reaching out to some podcasts, go on as a guest. Now, what happens is, first of all, you're hitting 2 birds with one stone. One, you are getting awareness, you're getting some brand awareness and establishing credibility and trust to a niche audience for free. And 2, what you're doing is, Gavin, you're likely going to create a little page for this episode, right? Repurpose some of the content. And guess what you're going to link to in the show notes? To Respona, right? Because guess what? People will actually land on our page and want to learn about Respona. So you want to put a link in there. Or to our outreach strategy hub, one of our educational pieces. So there you go. I just got a link from your website and I got free advertising to your audience. Pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So that's one out of a gazillion different strategies. Now let's talk a little about some content collaborations. We have a 3-step process when it comes to our blog post content promotion. And that 3 steps summarized in step 1 is a mutually beneficial collaboration. So it's kind of a transactional collaboration that starts the conversation. That leads to step 2, a content collaboration, which is normally in form of guest posts on a website that doesn't accept guest posts. And last but not least is a partnership, which are our brothers and sisters that we collaborate with on a regular. And at every stage of our outreach, we push these people down this funnel. So let me give you an example. Okay. So let's say we created a content piece on what is a video testimonial. Okay. And what are the best, or how do I create a video testimonial? That's probably a better keyword, because people are, what is a video testimonial is quite it's quite clear. So how do I create a video testimonial? So we went ahead, we understand the user intent. Okay, we know that it's an educational piece. Okay, great. So we went ahead and built a blog post. Now, how in the world are we going to actually go in and build some backlinks to it? So step 1 is a collaboration with another website. And that normally we use a variety of different strategies for that. One is using a competitor backlink strategy, where You can look up that keyword in the top 10 search results. So if you're using tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, you can plug into Respona, and Respona does that for you, or if you're doing it manually, you can do that as well. Where you're trying to understand, okay, what are some of the blog articles that have linked back to competing pieces of articles that are already ranking the search results. So reverse engineering those backlinks, you can extract them and put into a tool like Respona is normally step one. Is that you basically already know what are some of the links that are already helping these content pieces get rankings. And if you have really truly created something better, then you have a chance to actually reach out to these guys and collaborate with them. That's mutually beneficial. All right. So I'm going to get to the pitch here in a second. And number two is finding another strategy is anchor text strategy, for example. Again, we use a variety of them and just cherry picking some just to keep things simple for today. One is an anchor text strategy. So what that means is I'm trying to find using Google Advanced Operators and in Responding, you can pop it in or you can just Google it yourself, where you're trying to find mentions of video testimonial as part of, like, for example, what are some of the best marketing tactics in 2022? And they mentioned and listed a bunch of different tactics, and video testimonial is one of them. So the focal point of that article isn't about video testimonial, but they've mentioned it as one marketing strategy. So this makes it a great place for us to pitch to include our link. So I can reach out to whoever is the editor, be like, "Hey, Gavin, and I came across your post on Cleverly about marketing strategies in 2022, and notice you guys mentioned video testimonial here as part of the strategy. Obviously, since the focal point of the article is something different, you didn't dive deep. Our team just put together a really comprehensive guide on how to create video testimonials, and I happen to be writing a guest post on the HubSpot blog, and would love to reference your other article about influencer marketing." If you were kind to give us a mention here. Okay. So I'm hitting a few things and I'm going to dissect that pitch later. But basically, it starts out as a transactional. Hey, I do this for you. You scratch my back, you scratch your back. Or, for example, another strategy is just listicle strategy. You come across blog articles that are talking about what are the best video testimonial tools, and you go ahead and pitch your product. You're like, "Hey, I'd love to get you a lifetime access to, or 1 year long access to StoryPrompt if you were kind to give us a mention here," or something like that. We have an affiliate program, yada yada yada. But all of those come down to a transactional link exchange, where basically you're saying, "Hey, you do this for me, I do this for you." Success rate 5%. So out of 100 websites you reach out to, 5% of them say yes. Everybody's happy. You get a result. That's great. But since the response rates or success rates are relatively low, again, this averaging 5% success rate is actually pretty damn good if you know what you're doing. But you want to nurture those relationships, actually build meaningful relationships, not just a transactional thing. So next thing we do, like say I'm getting a backlink from StoryPrompt. Like, by the way, Gavin, so what our team does, they run that domain that we just collaborated with through Ahrefs or whatever tool that you guys are using for SEO. There's a feature called Content Gap that gives you a list of keywords that their competitors are ranking for, but they aren't. So I say, "Hey, thank you so much for referencing our article, Gavin. I appreciate it. I went ahead and published my guest post, and I've actually referenced your article. Here's the link. And by the way, I was looking around on Ahrefs and noticed both Video Ask and XYZ product are both ranking for the keyword like customer retention," and send you a little screenshot. And I noticed you guys don't have a content piece. I happen to have a marketer on our team who focuses on customer retention. Would love to contribute an article to your website covering that for you. No strings attached. If you didn't like it, you don't have to publish it. What would you say? Honestly, what would you say to that? 80 to 90% say yes. Perfect. Now we got a guest post. Now, that is not the end of it. Tricky part comes to the third step, which is building partnerships. Now, when we have collaborated with a website, so Gavin, you've already linked to a website from your article. You also published a guest post from us. You love us, clearly. All right. All right. We broke bread together. We're buddies now. Now, what this tells me is that, okay, hey, Gavin, are you also publishing and contributing to other websites? And most of the time, if they've collaborated with you and gotten to that point, the answer is yes. Like, hey, why don't we partner up together? Anytime you're contributing articles to other websites, if it makes sense to reference our articles, right? And that's obviously given that we have quality articles on our website. You reference it, and just to keep things fair and square, we do the same for you. So we put together a little sheet together, and then you reference your articles as you come across them, and we reference yours on a monthly basis, and we publish 2 to 3 of these guest posts every month, every week. And over time, you're going to end up with a dozen of these partners, like 12 of them. And half of them are going to be inactive or not going to reciprocate. No good. Cut them out. Over time, you're going to end up with a list of 5 or 6 really good partners that are very responsive, that are very respectful, that reciprocate things, and they're in your niche to contribute to actual relevant blogging in your space. Now, here's what happens next time you publish a guest post. Not only are you including or getting linked to your own website, but you're also referencing 5 or 6 other partners in that guest post. Now, over time, that creates a ripple effect that's indirectly contributing 5 or 6 different backlinks to your website from 5 or 6 different domains. And it creates a machine that you feed it at the top with cold outreach, and then you nurture those relationships over time.